waiting for Mehdi. Okay, waiting for, I think Mehdi is the husband, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure. Waving at Rachel. And so, yes, she's here. I can't believe it. I can't believe that when this goes nationwide, we might just cut the earlier bit, or maybe just, how are you? It is you, isn't it?
You know, that was just a giant trick, right, Helen? Just
what happened?
You could wing it.
Now, are you on your, anyway?
Okay. I am Mehdi El Ghadari right now. That's my husband's not Irish name. And
where is he from, your husband?
He's French Moroccan. So
I'm so pleased and congratulations. I'm not normally like this, sycophantic. So I don't know. Anyway, so there's the sexual bit. You've C-U-N-T, like a Hovis loaf. Could eat you alive. And what's that? These images that come to you. I'm sounding like David Attenborough. I just think they're really. Do you get embarrassed when you write about sex?
I'm in a different world when I write, so it doesn't feel like it's about me. It's more like watching a really interesting documentary.
Yes.
People should let me make documentaries, Helen. They would be really interesting.
I could do the voiceover for them, but maybe not in quite such a heightened state. So tell me, how did your what gave you the idea to start this particular book?
So Big Girl Small Town happened because I was writing a series of short stories, and there was about 13 in the series, and I think 13 was this one called Double Pub, and actually it was set in a chipper and alcoholic mother. Ooh. There was a disappeared father. There was everything kind of that's in the book, but it was a male protagonist.
Yes, I read that it was a man, which is the same thing. Yes, sorry, carry on. Yeah.
So then I got really. But somehow when it came, so basically as soon as I finished the story, I was like, I'm not done here. I really want to go deeper on this, but I wasn't that interested in following a male protagonist. And somehow I had this sensation that there was this other co-worker, or Majala was in the background. And I just took a month off work and I wrote 70,000 words in a month.
I mean, that's insane. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, how many words is that a day? I mean, that's a lot.
You're asking me to do sums, Helen.
I didn't hear that, but also you're American. Your voice is American.
Oh no, sorry. I was on some calls today with Americans, and that messes my brain up.
Get it?
If I speak to my husband long enough, I will try and sound like a Euro trash.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and
no, I'm hearing it now. I'm hearing that. So I'm jumping in, and I know everyone's going to be really annoyed with me, but because we've got less time now because of our thing. Are you incredibly excited that your first novel has received such acclaim? Because all the reviews I read were, amazing for you and for it.
It's just incredible, and I actually am not even sure that I can process it. It's like, I had a tweet from Nicola Coughlan, and Kathy Burke tweeted me, and every time something like that happens, I literally need to go and have a little lie down.
Yes.
I'm having a major flush at the minute. It's not just the wine. I'm talking to Helen, and before I came on, I was on WhatsApp to my the girls I grew up with group, and we're like going, oh my God, you're going to be talking to Helen. I'm like, and then
well, I'll take that one because I've had a hell of a day. So any compliment I will take. I'm assuming it was. But from a short story, this article in the Irish Independent that I urge anyone to Google, I just thought you are so interesting. I mean, have you always been writing? You did the short story. You've had the brain thing, and then it took you a very long time. No, you're saying you wrote it really quickly, but then what was the length of time then to get this book done?
13 years to get Big Girl Small Town.
Please tell. I don't want to talk. Please tell the writers out there. Tell the writer. Deirdre's coming. What's it called? It's called Big. Somebody else said Big Girl Small Town. So I want everyone to know about the writing process apart from reading your book. and we have to cram this in because it's 13 years. Did you write every day the same book for 13 years?
Oh God, no. I did things like, you know, started 2 businesses, had some pregnancies, had some babies, you know, I think I moved house at least 13 times in those 13 years, and I bounced around. I think the thing is that it took me a long time to really get all the answers for the book. So the book was finished quite quickly, inside 3 years. But finding a publisher was a challenge too, because it's a bit filthy in times, a bit bawdy.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's what Kathy Burke obviously liked it as well. I mean, because oh God, there's so many questions. I'm being a hopeless interviewer. I'm just so interested that, you know, in Ireland, you know, owning, I think the modern word is agency now. I've never understand when women have agency, but I mean, to own your sexuality, to drive it, to almost, you know, to invert all that amazing stuff. How you ask the man not to speak, it's better for you if they don't. Is there some morality, or is that being very judgmental on a culture that is obviously not all like that? Did you feel that you were being judged?
I felt really anxious about the book being accepted at home. And I know when I tried to get it published, I had 0 interest in Ireland. And I had agents and publishers in London and New York open conversations with me about the book, but nobody in Ireland opened a conversation ever. I got PFOs.
You must have got feedback since then. Do you think, I mean, perhaps there's some cultural canvas now with Dairy Girls and Milk, what's it called, the other book?
Milkman. And then also Lisa McInerney's done The Glorious Heresies, and that's just funny and filthy and smart and, you know, criminal, and it's an amazing read. There was kind of change in, I think, what we accepted as the Irish novel, which included being written by a woman, and including things that aren't the typical sort of Irish female things that you're allowed to write about. So I mean, an awful lot had to happen. The book itself is not so different to the book I wrote, you know, in a fury in a month. Changes in Irish society, and you know, it's just a totally different landscape to 13 years ago.
That's another thing about comedy as well. Female comedy writing is it moving so fast that it also dates so fast? But you're saying it's the same story. So when it wasn't, it should have been published before then. You think it was because people were nervous of, I don't know, the raucousness, or from a woman, you know, from a woman's pen?
It helped. I mean, one of the things I did change was originally it opened with the masturbation scene, and we pushed that back, which I think lets readers get a little bit further in. I think they become friends with Magella before she goes that far.
Yeah, right. Because I say topped and tailed the book, which sounds disgusting. I haven't had time to read it all today because of managing quick crisis. We're okay. We're still going. Thank everyone. Be pleased to hear. But I did strangely light upon the masturbation scene, and I just think it's so that's interesting. Quite technical that you would push that back. But if those things are necessary and required, then so be it. Do you think, somebody's asked a question, lots of questions, everyone loves you. What are the biggest changes in Irish society? I suppose that means in terms of, you know, women writing now.
Ooh, I mean, we've had an abortion referendum where women's stories, like little snippets of stories, not novels, but everybody's personal experience fed into repealing the 8th Amendment. So we now have the right to abortion in the Republic of Ireland, but not, well, Northern Ireland's joined in now. But what I loved about that was, I mean, you would go on Facebook and see these tiny stories, or maybe bigger paragraphs, or even short stories, people sharing their experiences. And that idea that there's a mass of people interested in, it's not just women's stories, though, they're human experiences. Exactly. I mean, any pregnancy story involves at least 2 people, you know? So I think that was a huge thing, the idea that we were interested and there was a mass audience for these things.
So from the publisher's point of view, then they know that they're going to make their money. It's safe to publish, but you had to wait. You had to wait a while. So what are you? You're writing your next one now, aren't you? Is that right? Or is it out? Is it out?
No. So I'm writing the next one, and it's set in a small town, but in a factory. And I've kind of used some of I once worked in a shirt factory for a summer, and it was a bit of a car crash, but interesting. So
car crash is very funny. I mean, that is probably car crashes humor. I mean, okay, I'm jumping in again. So you've done lots of different jobs. You've coped with a strange thought. Is your mind slightly different since your accident?
Yeah, although there's it's interesting because I'm kind of looking into what I used to be like, and I don't think my brain was ever entirely neurotypical, but definitely with the brain injury, it's very hard to say what is. I mean, I know the negative things from the brain injury, like my memory isn't as good, and I get tired quicker. I can get really bad headaches and even seizures. I have like a hangover from that, but I don't think I was entirely normal. I don't think I was typical before that. I think my brain worked in a strange way.
I understand that so much. And do you think that comedy, when you read other people's comedy, and it takes a certain type of person who will actually see things in an acute way? It's like you're very unafraid, and I think that's funny. I mean, you just go for it, but it's very natural. Okay, what turns you off when you read comedy stuff? This is for all our readers, because people are so fascinated about comedy content on the page. What turns you off? What makes you think, no?
I think it's when it's just entirely stereotypical. You see, I'm really interested in real people, right? I'm interested if you tell me, so there's this woman, and she was called Mrs. Byrne, right? And the weird thing about her is she had this basket with eggs in it, and then I'm in there. But if you tell me Paddy Englishman, Paddy Irishman, and Paddy Scotsman walk in a bar, I think I just fell asleep in my pint, you know?
Exactly. So we don't relate to stereotypes. I mean, does anyone? Again, what Comedy Women in Print needs to do, and is doing with people like you, is we're saying we can have more than one woman at once being funny and successful. Whereas in the 80s, when I was a bitter comedian struggling for my little moment, there were you couldn't have many women at once. So what is your attitude to your contemporaries? Like, as you were saying earlier, there seems to be this like now it's acceptable to own your sexuality and talk about religion and all these things. I mean, I would be nervous to talk about Irish religion in case I got something wrong, do you know what I mean? But you just kind of own it. Are there a lot of you doing it, but all in a different way?
I think women who are from the younger generation from me are doing it a lot better than, say, people my age and above, for sure.
What makes you say that? What element would you? I mean, I don't agree. I think you're amazing, but said that.
Oh no, I'm in awe of people like Sally Rooney and like Lisa McInerney from a generation. So I think, first of all, I think there's a bit of a difference between Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, and there's a difference in what our stories are and our experiences are. But I do think that there's a younger generation of women who simply just cut through the crap an awful lot quicker than we did. And I think that their voices are being heard sooner and louder, and it's wonderful. It's such a great thing to see it.
And there's no competition then between you, because do you think that we've moved it so that the individual
wouldn't be in that league,
overlaps content
I think
can sing?
Do you know, like, there's this idea of competition, maybe, I can't think it. To me, that makes me think of companies that don't actually use people properly. But creativity is all about, oh my God, somebody writes something and it sparks something in you, or somebody has a laugh. It's kind of like improv rather than stand-up.
Totally.
Stand-up's very like, I own the stage.
Yes.
It's my microphone.
Oh, yes. It can be quite alienating, whereas this is very unifying. It makes you not feel alone. When you read a funny book like yours, you just feel connected, and you think, that there is your material like yours out there, because we have to do 30 minutes. I can't believe that we have that. Somebody said, tell us about the character of Magella. Yes, we want to know the character. One question, Kath needs to come back, our mother. Can we go over for a few minutes, Kath? Because I want to, because I was boring the pants off myself, and you have clean knickers on. So tell us about the just saying that because you told me that, not because I'm projecting anything untoward on your underwear. What is tell us about the character Magella.
So Magella's she's some woman for one woman is how I think of her. She's very self-possessed, and I think she's someone who knows what she wants and knows how to get what she wants in one way. And I think that on the other side, there's this whole other side of Magella that is just waiting to be discovered by her and by other people. So I think she's not neurotypical, and I think the world is almost too much for her, even the little world of Ahi Bogi. So I think she spends so much time filtering her world that actually she doesn't get to experience some of the awesome things that she really would enjoy.
So do you like her?
I love when I wrote Magella, I felt really when I felt like I was inside her head, I felt really safe, because she's a big strong woman and I'm a kind of petite female who, there's a scene in the novel where Magella can defend her mum physically against a man, and I'm just like, wow, you know, that idea of being able to square up to a man and go, I can take you, you know.
No. And does she have? Is she lonely? Is she sad, or is she just locked off from other people's needs? She strikes me as quite separate.
I think she's locked off from her own needs. So yes, she's lonely, and yes, she's sad, and she certainly misses her best friend who moved to London. She misses the guy she used to hang out with, who she secretly fancied when she was younger. But she's kind of so shut off from her own needs.
And does she use humor? Like the dialogue, some of the dialogue is, I mean, it's harsh, but that is so funny. I mean, does she find herself funny, do you think?
I don't think so. I think she finds other people funny. I think she observes people in this kind of documentary way. You know, here's so-and-so coming in, here's somebody doing this.
Does she look down on people? I mean, sometimes people accuse like the observer, the comedian, as somebody who's not prepared to get close or engage.
I don't know. So it makes me think that when I was younger, growing up, my family really liked, when we got together, the TV went off and the radio went off, and we told stories, and they were always about people you knew or people who died, but you kind of knew their relatives. And it was never about looking down on somebody, but it was more that appreciating their character. And people are really quirky. People do weird things.
Did you grow up in this kind of town yourself then?
Yeah, I grew up in a small town on the border. Yeah.
But then you're so sophisticated. You left, didn't you?
Oh,
you left.
I left.
And you're a tech person. You got that strange geeky. So you're geek.
But you know, I was geeky when I was living in the town. I mean, I used a computer in 1979. So, you know, you could be a geek in these little towns are the places that need the internet now.
Yes.
And we didn't have the internet for a long time, but when you got it, it was suddenly like massive. I mean, if you're a really geeky, weird person in a small town,
yes,
you need the internet to connect you.
Yes, and you need people to like you a bit. I mean, she needs to be appreciated, doesn't she? Or is she? I mean, she likes her sex. She likes observing. What more does she want? This Beckett reference, you missed it because I was flapping. Somebody was saying that it was very like Beckett in that, you know, you've got a lot of ritual going on to try and explain the futility of life. Just checking that one in. But in a small town, what happens? A lot, nothing, everything. Oh, your beautiful face is still. Yes, go, because we're on the other on the partner's phone. Did you get any of that question?
No,
that was slightly pretentious question.
You were talking about Beckett and the futility of life, and then it all went quiet, and I wasn't sure.
I was being punished by God, because saying, Helen, maybe just not do the question about Beckett, because I can't follow through. No, what I was thinking of is like what happens in a small town that is satisfying, that is enough for people.
Oh, I think everybody creates their own small town, even in the biggest cities. I mean, when I lived in London, I know that you made your village and you depended on the people in your village. And I actually didn't appreciate that, how much of a village I'd put together in London until I moved to Dublin. And suddenly the people who I used to be drinking with when I was a student were all in a completely different village now. And they'd all made their village while I was off doing different things. And we left our village behind in London, the kind of people who you called at 3 a.m. when you have an emergency, need to go to hospital and you need to dump your kids with someone.
Yes.
We left all that behind in London, and we've had to try and make another village in Dublin, and it's slow. It's
how
slow.
long have you been in Dublin? I know it's not about writing, but you moved back. Yeah.
About 3 years, 3.5 years now. So it takes a while to kind of reintegrate yourself.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes it's quite nice not to. I don't engage with my neighbours at the moment because they have a trampoline and they're quite loud. And that's fine. Everyone's entitled to a trampoline. Somebody's asked what Magella would be doing in lockdown. That's a rather fun, facetious question and very timely. What would she be doing in lockdown?
Well, she would definitely have watched Dallas quite a few times. She likes to sit and watch Dallas. But Magella needs to get broadband in her life. I mean, this is at a time still when Magella didn't, like, this is going back, about 14 years ago it's set. And even now, when you go to the border area, you have really poor connection. So here in Dublin, we had some connectivity issues for the past 2 days, and everybody got panicky. So Magella's not a big reader. She doesn't like talking to people, and she's in a house with a woman who just who pretty much wants to drink herself to death. Yeah, I would hope.
but she is so adorable, and I know that sounds quite an affected word in itself. It's not the kind of word I would normally use. It's a bit gushy, but I'm allowed to use it because you painted that harsh streak. I want to oh God, there's so much more I want to ask, but so are you on a kind of new journey now promoting this book? I mean, I can't remember when it was published, but it's all quite recent.
It was published in February, but kind of we pretty much had the last normal, or what felt like the last normal book launch, where we did a launch in Dublin, we'd done a book tour in London, we did another launch in Belfast, and a final one.
Are you sick of it? Are you sick of talking about it?
No, I felt very burnt out now, honestly.
Of course.
By the time lockdown came, I'm going to be honest, I'm one of the people for whom lockdown it came at the right time. And I know this is a hideous time in so many ways for so many people. But personally, I was burnt out. I was talked out. I was I needed a break. And
of course. And because you've lived and breathed it, well, then we hear the 13 years, that's massive. But like doing that literary festival circuit, where presumably or whatever, all the interviews, and it is tiring. You almost maybe feel that you're boring yourself, but you're not boring me because you're new to me, but it might not be new to you when you tell it over and over again. But
and also some of it is people are very interested in my personal life, and some of that I can talk about it, but I think that also it takes a toll. It takes and to be honest, a lot of it I just put in a little box, closed the box, didn't go near it. And then people, if you ask me a question, I usually pretty much just give you the answer. I don't filter very well. So people would say, and how do you feel about that? And I would go, bing, and afterwards would just be exhausted.
It's a very odd thing, I imagine, because I'm much older than you, and I try not to lie, but I try and leave things out. And it is quite unusual having to tell people you don't know any personal details. I mean, it's quite bizarre, really. But there's a way of you're such a good storyteller. As you say, you can frame it, modern words. Agency and framing are modern words. So to end on a real excited note, so it took a while for you to get published. You then got published. It is such a runaway success. When we talk to writers, it's like, is it the dream to have your novel? I mean, is this part of is it making you happy?
So I did a happiness course recently.
Oh my God. Okay, wasn't expecting that answer. Okay, why not?
It's interesting. It takes me a long time to process stuff, and getting the book deal made me very happy. The lead up to getting it out, like the editing process and everything, I was very happy, but actually getting it out there was really hard work. I mean,
Yep.
like it's amazing. It's kind of like being burnt by fire or something. It's amazing, but on the other side, I felt burnt out afterwards. So I think when I got longlisted for the Comedy Woman in Print thing, that felt so good, because we were in lockdown and I'd had so much. I'd done the happiness course and learned more about how to be happy, and I was much better at kind of going, oh my God, right? So
Oh, you mean you could take it? You allowed your...
I could take it. I could just go, oh my God, and it just, yeah, that
and it felt good. I totally understand. It's so much exposure and potential judgment, and I, as an old person, know not to read reviews. I just can't. I mean, they still break. You just don't read them because...
No, I get Mehdi El Gadari to read the reviews, and also now to impersonate me on Instagram by the look of it.
So
I'm still on his account, aren't I? I don't know how that's displayed.
I know. I feel I know him really well, but getting... I mean, am I telling the complete truth? Because obviously if there's something nice and somebody tells you something nice, I'd probably look at it. But when I did a show in Edinburgh, I'd say this, you know, every day I picked up paper, think I can look now because it can't be as bad as the night before. And it was. And it's not the making of you. It's just constantly unpleasant because it's you on the page. So the happiness course, I want the address afterwards. We'll all be going on the happiness course.
Very highly transformative.
How long does it take to be happy? Is it a day course?
To be honest, the first day I did it, it was just ding, eye-opening, and I think I went and did a happiness activity, you know, and I'm not talking sex, drugs, or alcohol. I'm talking a happiness activity, and just went, actually, I do feel happier having done that, and it was very easy. Honestly, it's been an impressive thing, and it's there, and it's very American, right, to choose happiness.
But the world is changing. There are good bits and bad bits of all our cultures. Let's take that culture. I just think you're very authentic, very funny. I haven't read all the book. I'm not a judge. But this is my kind of book. I want everyone to read it. And can we talk again when I've been on the happiness course and you've had some time out, and we know our mother Kath will teach us how to do the button pressing?
Yes.
So we'll meet again.
I'm a geek, and I couldn't get Instagram Live to work. I mean,
it was, you know, somebody has just said the loveliest thing. This is part of my happiness course, listening to you both. So no, I love talking to you. This is a really funny book. Good luck with the next one. I'm just doing my David Attenborough. So what do we do? How do we end it? Do you, as a geek, how would you end this? Oh, okay. Lovely girl. Okay, cheers. Congratulations. All good things to you. And then I'm going to press end. But first the sip, and all our lovely viewers. Heroines both, says Fiona. Thank you. Abigail Mann's just joined. Everyone is coming in now. She won the prize last year and is published now. Abigail Mann, she's wonderful. Okay, love you very much. Will I press end? Will we press end together?
Go on then. Go on if you must.
Go on, I'm pressing end now. I'm pressing end.